Hi, so for my challenge you will have to land your whoop on a really small circular or square obstacle, and you have to land it 2 times in a row on this obstacle with a maximum time of 15 seconds between the first and second touchdown. So first you have to land on the surface and disarm. Now the 15 seconds start counting. Then your whoop has to stand still for at least 1 second. Then you can take off again and you have to fly away at least far enough so that your whoop isn't directly above the obstacle anymore. Land on the surface again and disarm. The 15 seconds stop when you have touched down and disarmed. Now stand still for 1 second again and take off again. Additional requirements are: your video has to include a timer. You have to measure the surface with a ruler as a proof. No bumps or ground taps are allowed other than the landings, and you have to fly with goggles. No line of sight flying permitted, and maximum camera angle of 65 and minimum of 0 degrees. The landing surface has to be at least 30 centimeters above ground or the surface it is set up upon. And the maximum spanning surface area of the obstacle you land on is allowed to be as follows based on your whoop frame size. So for example, for 65mm whoops you will be allowed to have 1 square inch, and for 85mm you would have 1.71 square inch, and I wrote the conversions to square centimeters here. And same rules apply if you have any different frame size. The surface area is meant as the total spanning area. You can imagine this like the surface area of a cloth or a plate you would put onto the surface, and you're, for example, not allowed to make the total outline area any larger by, for example, saving surface area through using fine structures or holes and cutouts. Only the outline contour counts for the surface area calculation. And the outline of the surface needs to be either square or circular. The surface can have indentations, but the outer rim needs to be completely flush on a planar surface. Imagine if you would press your surface against the wall, then it has to be completely flush with the wall on the outer contour everywhere. And no topology may stand out above the surface plane that is spanned by the rim of the surface. And one additional rule: the surface that you're landing on has to be the highest surface in proximity, meaning that you're not allowed to have any structures higher than the actual surface nearby guiding you physically. And this would of course also violate the no bumps or taps rule anyways, just as additional info. The material of your landing surface has to be a solid material, like for example plastics, wood or metal. You can, for example, like in this video, use a 3D printed IGOW gate connector plugged on top of a PVC tube, because this is pretty much exactly 1 square inch and would fit perfectly for the requirements for a 65mm whoop. If you're flying a whoop that for some reason cannot stand upright by itself, for example if it will always tip over by just standing, you are allowed to attach a small thin plate so that it will stand upright without tipping over. For this plate, the same surface area rules apply as for the surface area of the obstacle. So for example, for a 65mm whoop that cannot stand upright, you may attach 1x1 inch plate. So this is just an example calculation if you want to determine whether an object is suited as a landing surface for this challenge. I just found this flashlight lying on my desk, and if you want to know whether you can use it for the challenge, you just have to measure its total diameter in this case 2.8 centimeters, and then I will just calculate the surface area by taking half diameter squared and multiplying with the number pi, and then I will get that it's 6.15 square centimeters, which is less than 6.45 square centimeters for my 65 millimeter. And in this case, because it's not high enough by itself, I would have to attach it to a separate pole so that it is raised up to at least 30 centimeters above ground, or the table in this case. And this right here is my example submission. So first I measure my landing surface with a ruler. It's about 1 inch times 1 inch, just as a proof. And now I'm hovering in my room and try to land on it. And right as I land and disarm, the timer starts counting. I have to stand still for at least 1 second. Then I take off again, fly a bit away and land again, and the timer stops before the 15-second mark, and now I can just do whatever. So I hope you will have fun trying this challenge, and I wish you all the best luck.